prepared. Welcome everyone to this, I've actually now lost count, event in our fantastic Encode Filecoin series, in which we teach you everything about decentralized storage, protocol labs, Filecoin, IPFS, NFTs, everything you could want to know. It's been a very popular series so far, and we continue on this trend today. And we're delighted to have Jimmy Lee here, who's, I believe, a project manager at Protocol Labs, and he's going to talk you through building with Filecoin. So it was a nice engaging one. Well, they're all engaging, but this one particularly so. So Jimmy, we're delighted to have you. Just a word for everyone on etiquette. Questions in the chat, that would be the best way to do it. Video will go up on YouTube, slides will go up on Medium after this event, probably tomorrow. Well, it will be tomorrow morning. I will put some links and some various bits in chat as Jimmy is talking. And otherwise, thanks everyone for being here. Jimmy, big appreciation to you and looking forward to this one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm going to share my screen and get things started. So hey, I work on this team called the Application Research Group at Protocol Labs, and I'm a lead on ARG team. I work in the ecosystem, and our goal, our fundamental goal, is to basically help the entire world build end-to-end applications using Filecoin, which right now, if you spend time on the internet, it's a lot of noise, and it's really hard to kind of find the simplest way to do it. And so I've been experimenting for the last year or so, the year before, building an application called Slate to kind of like figure out what is the easiest way any developer can kind of start building with Filecoin. So we're going to walk through everything we've done over the last, like 8 or so months. And hopefully by the end of this talk, you will probably have a better idea of how to build on Filecoin. And if not, I'm always available. So you can always DM me, you can find me on Twitter. The A Research Group is a perfect tag you can follow. And hopefully we'll share some code examples, and at some point you'll find it easy to bring Filecoin to your stack at a hackathon or anywhere else. And so what is the ARG, like what is this Application Research Group? So I go by nickname Cake. You can find me in the Filecoin Slack. We're led by Y helped build a lot of key components of Filecoin, Lotus, IPFS, libpdp, etc. Chris Waring is working on something called Origin, which is really cool. I'll get into that later. Elijah is our newest hire. Kid's a genius. Really love having him on the team. And we're really lifted by an entire ecosystem of collaborations. So we work with some of the smartest people that I've ever worked with in my entire career. And I think it's just like they kind of like make all this technology a lot easier to use. So I'm going to go over some of their stuff as well. A lot of Protocol Labs involvement. Everything they do, really outstanding. And we're also hiring as well. We're looking for systems people. So if you want to help people build apps on top of this new emerging distributed web, please reach out to me. And so here's an example of some of the people that we partner with. Really excited to get a lot of Internet Archive data onto Filecoin. We work with Vision Codes, and they have a really cool DID solution. Textile has been longtime friends of us, and everything they release, it's been really fun to develop with. Slate's basically built on Textile and Estuary, which I'll talk about later. And QRI is a new friend here that the way that they think about file systems and how to store large file systems worth of data and how to manage permissions and encryption, just a really fun ecosystem partner to work with. So we're hoping to show more of their stuff later on as time goes. And so before I continue, quick plug. We have a Encode Hackathon coming up. It's 12-week hackathon starting October 5th together with Encode. And just gonna be prizes and mentorship opportunities. So stay tuned, and I'm sure Anthony will have more information for you on that. But we're gonna do a lot of cool stuff there. So let me give a quick website tour for basically just imagining how maybe someone new would come to the ecosystem for the first time. So you probably will go on Google and you'll find the Filecoin website. You'll see this cool globe. And after you see this cool globe, you'll be like, I have no idea how to develop on this thing. Still, you might click on build, and build will take you to some more words, right? And so, this is like really great for finding these key links. I think getting to the GitHub is really good. I think getting to docs is really good. So you get to the docs and you'll be like, whoa, more words. Okay, a lot of stuff here. I just need like a code example, right? And so I think this is kind of where we are today is, we have a lot of stuff that highlights kind of what we're doing, but we need a lot more kitchen sink example and code example. So I'm going to walk through a couple of ecosystem partners that have services that you can use, and we'll get into the code. So Fleek is awesome. They use IPFS hosting, and they use Filecoin as well to back up your sites. And so if you needed like a Heroku or Render or any type of like Netlify kind of replacement, you can start here. And Pinata is basically the home of NFT media. So a lot of big NFT companies today use Pinata to back up and store the NFT data, and they do it in the terabytes, which is probably like the largest scale on the internet today. So definitely check them out if you want to get into like becoming an art house, or anything like that. Web3 storage is really cool because Web3 storage is a product that ties it all together. So they have if you look through their docs, there is actually a chart of how it all comes together for how anyone could build kind of their own, like, art house, public data storage kind of product. And they're actively working on this. So this is a really cool project. Textile, if you go through their docs, you'll end up kind of finding kind of like a GitHub page that will show you how to, actually, I'll probably just end up going to it. So Textile GitHub, and you can go here and you can basically find in all of the individual repos, they'll have instructions how to run, and they kind of explain how everything works. So this is kind of like for like a network provider. Jimkey asks in the chat, are Pinata and Textile private companies? Yeah, they're private companies. I think if you look at most of the space, for most of the people who build stuff in the ecosystem, there are a whole bunch of private companies. Yeah, definitely no problem with that. But they're very official, they're reliable, they make promises about SLA, etc. Other partner is kind of Ceramic. They do a lot of cool stuff with identity. So they have a really cool example of a kind of like Next.js and DID like kind of site and product. So totally something worth checking out. And then QRI, really great docs. Here you can kind of just like, command line quick start, QRI desktop quick start for kind of like managing large data sets. Infura has a Filecoin API for their hosted node, which is really cool if you just kind of want to play with what you can find from a Filecoin node and network. And in Infinite Scroll, one of our coolest partners, they have a wallet that they built. It's kind of like a wallet that we all like to use, and they have really cool libraries like Glyph, Filecoin number. And then lastly, ChainSafe has a ton of projects where they have a Filecoin node implementation in Rust, and they have ChainSafe storage, which is a really cool project for basically storing files like in a Dropbox kind of way. So sorry, that was a lot, but there's a ton of people building in the ecosystem, and they have a ton of code. So I'm not going to go over each one individually. But if you want to see their source code and you want to talk about that with me, I'll gladly point you in the right direction, and we can even walk through those. Whoa, someone should mute. And then Fission is one of our newest partners, and they have this really incredible story with kind of UCANs, which is basically, if you think about kind of having a connected set of machines that authenticate between each other. And so basically they can prove like, okay, you have the right to access this set of data. And they have also ACL based on like, I guess at a file level, so you can revoke it as you grant permissions later on. That's kind of like the worst explanation I can give, but we're using their stuff for DIDs. So hopefully, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, reach out and we talk. Okay, so that was kind of like a machine gun version of just a lot of stuff happening in the ecosystem, a lot of people who are working on cool things. So if you're trying to figure out what Filecoin is, you'll probably end up at the Filecoin spec. And this is not necessarily the best place to start as a developer. it's probably a good place to start if you're into like crypto economics or you're into systems architecture or like deep systems design or distributed systems design, because there's a lot of stuff here that would explain how Filecoin works, and it's not super accessible. But you can tell how when you end up somewhere like the Filecoin spec and you start with the Filecoin website over here, you know, it's easy to still feel lost as a developer because you just haven't seen any code yet. And you're probably, okay, where's all the code? And so here you can probably find like a lot of details of what is implemented, what isn't, a lot of definitions, and it'll be a lot of reading. But compared to like something like create React app or Expo, it's going to take a long time before you get into the code. Furthermore, we have developers who kind of focus on really cool, you know, like analytics over the network. So Jim Pick here has one of my favorites, which is kind of, I think it's right here where I can find minor to region mapper, where you can see that he's kind of played with some code of his own, and he's found out how to graph where all the Filecoin miners are or providers are in the world, and or at least of the set that he knows of. And still, it's kind of like, okay, wow, like this is really informative, but I just want to build maybe an app. And so you get to some of this data, you click on get more data, you see like, okay, like cool, there's a site like File App that kind of talks about, you know, all of the storage providers in the ecosystem, but still no hints of how to write any code or how to, you know, engage with any of these providers. It's just kind of like prices, right? So you know that Filecoin is only like 0.04% the cost of Amazon S3. And so, you know, you continue on this path and you reach maybe like this repo. And our goal with this repo is that you'll find some examples here that can finally show you how to build on top of Filecoin in a really, really easy way. Lemon asks, why am I called Cake? I really like pastries. So I woke up one day and then I was like, I just want to, you know, I want to bring joy to the world. So I called myself Cake. And also my real name is Jim, but I have a coworker named Jim. And so out of respect, I decided to name myself Cake because he was the first Jim and I don't want to take that away from him. So I hope that's a good enough answer. And I love croissants as well. I like, so my Zoom meeting room is actually pastries, but don't go looking for it. But yeah. So we have basically this repo here, the application research group repo, and we have a couple projects. And one of the projects I want to highlight is Origin. So Origin is, if you're a front-end developer and you want to get started with building Web3, which is like, you know, a site that I can just like work on my machine and then put it onto Fleek, you can get the whole Web3 story. And some of the apps you can build, here's a cool example by Chris Waring, and obviously it's not going to work on meeting time because I deleted it. So I'm not going to show it. But it's a really great way to get started if you're like front-end dev and you just want to like, you know, play with stuff that's familiar. If you don't like Vue, we also have one for let's see, React, Next.js and React as well. So we have both, you know, we have one for Vue, one for React. So you can start with these repos and kind of like build a simple website. So if you're at a hackathon and you just want to get started with a code base, you can use these. And eventually you'll want to play with something like NextBucket. So NextBucket is a good example of how to build kind of like a really simple like service to help other people pin IPFS data. So we use Textile on the back end, and then you can pin anything you want to IPFS and get a CID back. And a CID is basically the underlying off-chain data for all the NFTs in the world. So you can kind of use this example to get started. Although I would say that today Web3 storage and NFT storage are better at this than NextBucket, but still a pretty good starting example. So there's instructions here, and the code's pretty simple. I mean, like you can look at dependencies. It's pretty small. There's only like a few dependencies here. And so if you're familiar with JavaScript, really easy way to kind of build a really easy proof of concept using IPFS. And then we'll get into Estuary very soon. Here's an example of a Filecoin wallet that I was working on. And so we plan on open sourcing a lot of really cool stuff around, design systems and, basically the entire kitchen sink of what you can build with Filecoin. So if you can kind of wrap your head around, like, basically we have a Filecoin spec. There's a ton of stuff here. You can just look at a kitchen sink example and maybe build something like this instead without having to read the entire spec and just looking at API methods. So if we go into the repo, we go into common, we go to handlers, I have an example file here of basically everything you need to work with a ledger device and check transactions and kind of, make a wallet of your own. So Samantha Kim, are you good at front end? I'm probably not good at anything, but I'm really good at sharing what other people work on. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that we have here. And so I guess that's a large overview. We had wallets, we had the Filecoin spec, we had Jim Pick's work with all the research. We had 8+ kind of ecosystem partners with different stacks. And hopefully that provides some context in a very quick way to show you that there's a ton of examples out there. And we can get back to kind of what I want to talk about, which is the end-to-end Filecoin stack. So Filecoin application development, things are getting easier. And so you can tell that there is a lot of stuff in the ecosystem. And what we've been working on is an end-to-end example of how to build on Filecoin exclusively. So if you look at all of that context prior, they are building stuff for the greater Web3, centralized entities, web hosting, etc. We want to focus on, with our stack and what we're sharing in the future, kind of how to just focus on Filecoin, and you can bring that back to whatever you're working on. And so I want to talk about Estuary. And Estuary is a project that we've been working on since April. And it's kind of, I think, the easiest way to make a Filecoin storage deal today. And we're hoping that as we innovate here, people will take our code and innovate further. And so the thinking model is kind of, I've been repeating this over and over again, sorry if it's redundant, but a story for the most reliable way to upload public data to the Filecoin network. And it's 3 parts. So you can host your own Estuary node. It has its own libp2p stack. There's a website that can interface with that node. That's also open source, and you can take all the code for that. And a documentation platform that's also open source. And so all 3 of these are open source. So if you want to take these 3 and build your own dweb, Heroku, dweb, Netlify, you totally could. I would wait a little bit while we're working on it, or help contribute first. And then when it's ready, I think it's off to the races. And so we support the IPFS paying standard over HTTP. So documentation for that. And we also have a lot of effort towards improving the Filecoin storage deal experience. And so finding storage providers, storing that data, making that really easy. And I'll go into that more later. And so we're running an Estuary node at Estuary Tech. You can visit that URL right now. If you feel like I've said a lot of things and you just want to see what it is, you can just go there today and check it out. We have an API where you can use any language you want to interface with it. We configured it right now to be invite only. This is not because we want to be like restrictive or gatekeeping. It's just because we want to make sure that people who are using Estuary are using it for public good, and their data is kind of like, it's licensed appropriately, so it can be shared with the world. We're not for illegal content. We're not for content that's not allowed on the internet in general. And we're still testing the optimal performance and instructions and integrations to make Estuary the best possible kitchen sink example, so that if you are a developer or engineer or designer and you want to find an example code base to work from, you can just take it and run with it. And we hope that someday you'll run your own. So it won't be just us making Filecoin deals. It'll be the entire ecosystem making hundreds of thousands of Filecoin deals all the time. And so the data so far, and this is what I work with some really brilliant people, so I'm not taking credit for this. This is like an entire team effort, but we've gotten 8 million files plus actually through the single Estuary node. We've made over 12,000 Filecoin storage deals. We've pinned over 20 terabytes to the single node, right? So this is just one node in the network. You can imagine a whole bunch of these. We have 94 terabytes plus of total sealed storage on the Filecoin network. That's a ton. We're working our way towards trying to get to a petabyte. We have 100 plus miners that we've curated. Miners is the wrong word, it's a provider, but we're hoping to work with 600 plus. And so if you saw the site earlier, I showed you File App, it's a giant list of like 3,000 plus providers. Eventually we'll work with more of the ecosystem. And we have individual users right now today who've put over 2 million files of their own and 8 terabytes of their own data onto our Estuary node. And so we're still trying to push this. And the idea here, and this is like really redundant, I'm sorry, but basically, you know, if we can do this with our Estuary node and we give you the code, you can probably do it too. And then you can innovate on top of it. And so I'll give you a quick feature tour so you can walk through the whole thing, and I'll even walk through more later. There's a lot to go through. We put commands everywhere. So on our marketing page, when you get to Estuary, you'll see that there's 3 curl commands, or sorry, command line commands. And this is, I'm guilty of not building like a super user-friendly marketing page. I kind of wanted to show the technical side of this product first, but basically I wanted people to realize that Filecoin can be reduced to like just a few commands that you run where you store data and retrieve data. So here, I have a curl command that once you have your API key, you can, just store data. You can use Lotus if you have a Lotus node that's running and retrieve it, or you can retrieve it from a gateway. And so I'll actually break out this real quick to demonstrate that. So if I go to estuary.tech, and James, I think the best Filecoin resources are basically any full example of someone who's used kind of like Filecoin at least once or twice. So if you go back to the example I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if you caught this because I might have, word vomited over it. But if I go to my next bucket example, we have a full example of using textile buckets, which is like a way to pin data to IPFS. And you can also use their API to store that data onto a provider of your choice. So I would start here. I've seen people at hackathons do really well with this example, and I haven't gotten any super negative comments back, but if you don't like it, we can always try to build you a better example to start with. But what I want to talk about earlier was basically here, you can just click this link and, well, of course it wouldn't work during the talk, but you can kind of see that retrieval is just like 1 click away. Well, it should have been 1 click away, but didn't work out that way. Classic, my luck, basically. So that's what you're supposed to see. You're supposed to see a video. And so, yeah, too many requests right now, but it's popular, exactly. But yeah, that's what you're supposed to see. So your data is just 1 click away. So what we want the Filecoin experience to be is when you click on something that is stored or backed up to Filecoin, you can get it back right away. And right now we're still testing the ceiling, so sometimes things break, but that's a good example of kind of what happens in the current times, but this is kind of the goal. And another thing that's really cool about Estuary is that if you have to prove that your data is backed up to Filecoin, you can't. So I have an example of this page called verifies CID. And if I go here, it will look for the CID and it will prove that this data is with 1, 2, 3, 4 providers on the Filecoin network. So that's something that, if you think about things in pure terms of IPFS, it's cool that you've pinned it to IPFS, but now we have a way to prove that that data is actually backed up on the Filecoin network. So as a developer, this is actually really useful because now when you're saying like, oh, I have, NFT storage type stuff, I can say it's also on these providers in different parts of the world. And so if that's confusing at all, we can talk about that more, but I think that's really cool. And you can know where it is, and you can even see the receipts. So one thing is you can see how long it's going to be stored for on the Filecoin network. You can see the cost, you can see the size, and you can see how much provider collateral is paid. And we're hoping to expand this more so that it will show stuff like, is the provider kind of like compliant with these laws? And I think that will make the storage game a little more fun. So I'm losing track of where I am. So that's part of the whole verify concept, right? So Estuary not only allows you to upload data really easily, it lets you prove, where it is, where it's trying to store data with, and it has a really great automated algorithm that kind of just like makes deals with the whole list of providers, keeps track of its own reputation. And so we really want you to eventually get to the point where you know your providers. So, in the future, we can expand on this a little bit more. We can add more details, location, compliance, different safeguards. And I think it's these details that allow people to really trust that their data is going to be stored for long term. Like our goal with Filecoin is to make sure that people can trust that data is going to be there for a while and develop a system that people can really, know and see with their own eyes instead of just trusting marketing. Couple questions here. Do we need a valid use case to request a CID? Can a learning platform be used? It's a platform that's kind of for everything and anything. So I'm not sure how to answer that question specifically, but I think so, probably. What markets are you targeting? Media, insurance, banking? Well, I think the Filecoin network is so massive, right? Like you have so many cool industries. Like you have, let's take a really awesome company like Orbital Insight, right? That has amazing satellite data. And let's say you wanted to circle cornfields and you wanted to process how many cornfields are in the world, right? Like that data is so valuable to any type of, institution, market making entity, whatever. And so, we're just at the beginning where we're storing this information. You can imagine now that we know where it's stored, if the laws are allowing for it, we can do post-processing of that data. We can provide a lot of systems that help do prediction markets, et cetera. So I think it's kind of data is pretty much everything in the world right now. So if you think of Filecoin, when we hit our potential, I think we are like for everything. So that's a great question. I think media will love this because, if you're an artist and you have an IPFS node, right, and another person uploads the same file, with Ethereum, you can prove provenance, right, which is really cool. So it's really hard to steal someone's work without accrediting them. And that's a world that can exist too. So CIDs are powerful things. This is kind of a talk around Filecoin, maybe with some expectation that a lot about IPFS already, but that IPFS side of content addressing and unique IDs, ties really well to this, because if you love CIDs and your CIDs are backed up, it's a really synergistic story. So a receipt for every storage deal, kind of showed this off, but every time a deal is finished with a provider, you get a receipt and you get to know exactly when it will finish. And our Estuary node will use funds that it has on the node itself to renew it. And if you're a node operator, you can either make the client pay or you can pay for it just like us. And so we're going to provide this optionality. And what's really cool is when you're running your own Estuary node, you can choose how you want your node to be used. So if you want users to pay for their own deals, great. If you want to pay for users' deals yourself because you're providing as a service for maybe your clients, you can. And so we want that functionality to exist. We have upload via CID. So I know that this will not be intuitive for anyone who doesn't know what a CID is, but if you do have a CID and you just want to put it on the Filecoin network, copy and paste one line, give a new file name if you want to, and then make Filecoin deal. Simple as that, 3 steps. Upload via API. So what's really cool about our API and our docs in general is that you can actually use our docs without ever having to use the GUI for our product. So if you just want to, I'll just give an example. If we're here in the docs, this is a live code section. So you can actually change this code right here. So you can use the entire API from this area and it's all client side. You're not sending data to us. And so you basically can play with the whole thing and try a whole bunch of stuff out. So it ends up being, a great way to play with Estuary before, getting too immersed. Maybe you just want to try, uploading data. So we have an example here where you can try fetch from your own app, or you can kind of, just copy and paste this. And I have a example that you can just play with, or you can choose files. And here's an example of that. So
hey, Cake.
Yeah.
Is this so what you're going over right now? And thanks for answering my last question. But yeah. So using let's just say global ID application for and toying with that app. I downloaded that so I can use the MasterCard, XRP MasterCard. But seeing how the systems work with how they pull data from different databases for graduations or where you went to school, birth dates, driver's license. Would they be using the same APIs then that Filecoin is, or the mechanics that you're defining right here?
I think if I understand that question correctly, you're using a set of APIs already, and you're wondering if underneath the hood they'll be using Estuary. Like
exactly.
Yeah. So they're right now. I don't know if they are using Estuary on the back end. I know that Web3 storage and NFT storage and those existing products are. So they're using our solution and Textile Bidbot to make deals. Although we've made more deals. I think we've, we're like 600 deals an hour, I think. So I don't know the exact answer to that.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you on that. But I
was just curious.
Yeah, but I do think that Estuary is a little bit exclusive right now. So it's either being proxied through another service, and maybe only a few people are using us directly. But if they want to use us directly, they can just reach out. We'll give them a key, and there should be no problem. And there's some things I want to talk about there that I'll get to later in the.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the question. So yeah, you can kind of play with the API here, and we don't really hide anything. So there's one thing I want to talk about, which is if I go to my repo, right? So I have pulled up here the Estuary repo, and we have a README right here that, I should pull it up on GitHub, sorry. So we're still working on the steps, but you can start trying to learn how to run your own Estuary node. If you go into the handlers here, you can see that there is a ton of API methods that this Estuary node uses. And beneath the hood on the API endpoints, it's either using a tool that Elijah's working on called Filecoin Client, or just interfacing the Estuary node directly. And you can kind of see how everything works. But the point of showing you all these API endpoints is that everything that we do here on the docs is basically just an example of hitting those API endpoints. So there's a lot of learning materials for any network providers to kind of go in and play with this and read this if they're really serious about it. And I also provide support on how to use it, and they can integrate a whole bunch of stuff that you see in the GUI today. So in the whole keynote slide that I'm presenting, there are a whole bunch of screens that I've been showing. All of that's doable from here, and you can see how everything works transparently. So if anyone here is curious about integrating Estuary into their own stack, that's a good starting point. So back to talk. One thing that we do that's unique, I think, to other services is we keep public performance analytics. So we like sharing all our data in public as we learn. So nothing is kept secret, even our failures, because we're just one Estuary node and we're testing a ceiling. We will make mistakes, but there are a lot of things in the ecosystem as well. So we might not be the best solution, but we want to transparently do this so everyone can learn along the way with us. And so you can see a screenshot here. We were sharing our data as early as when we only had 3 million files, 3,000 deals on chain, 9 terabytes of PIN data, and 20 terabytes of sealed storage. And so here's a graph of where we are and every single provider that we work with. And so today, this chart looks a little bit different. You go here to Estuary Tech, you can see down here, we are way up into the right, and we have some now named providers. So you can click on these and see more details about them, how many deals they've made, how many errors they've helped report to us, their latest version. And so this is really great for when you're running your own Estuary node, you can actually debug with the provider that's making the deal as well. And you can share logs, and it's just super useful to have this transparency. So another cool feature, that is a problem for people who are currently working on Filecoin stuff is that if you are trying to make deals for small files, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? Like a lot of providers in the network, they all really just want you to hit their minimum piece size. So that minimum piece size might be 250 megabytes. They don't want you sending small data. And so we do smart batching. So you don't have to think twice about it. If you're uploading a whole bunch of small files to our system, you can just upload them and we'll batch them together for you. And we're experimenting with a whole bunch of different ways to do this, like padding. Padding is probably the most expensive because if you pad the data, you're wasting a lot of space. So we try to aggregate a whole bunch of small files at once, and we're playing with those techniques. Provider profiles, I just showed you that. So great tool for debugging. You can see the latest version, deals, errors, provider logs. So you can see details around why deals failed. You can click into those and kind of, see what happened. And so it helps us skip meetings. We don't have to have a meeting every single time something goes wrong. We can just show the logs, they know what to fix, and it helps with the loop around development. And so that is kind of an overview of what you'd experience as kind of like a user using the Estuary node. And then tools for network operators. So if you're running your own Estuary node, here are some tools that we've built as well, like kind of admin stuff. So it's kind of redundant. We have horizontal scaling with shuttles, really cool invention by Y, more later. We're experimenting with more block storage capacity. We want to focus on write fast, read fast, and we have a built-in Filecoin address that is part of the Estuary node itself. So if you're running your Estuary node, you have a Filecoin address as well. So that's pretty cool, and we have tools to manage that. So I think this is probably the feature that most people are interested about. If you're running your own Estuary node, you'll have a list of storage providers. And in this screenshot, we have 96 of them. And so if you ever want to make deals with just one provider, which I think is a current challenge in Filecoin today, you can just kind of like run your own Estuary node, get everything booted up, only add one provider. And then when you expose that API to your users, all deals just go to that one provider. And obviously there's a lot of bugs to kind of work through, but in our case, we added 96 and we're actually 100 plus right now, but our goal is kind of like to make as many deals as possible, but maybe in your case, you might want to curate. So we added that customizability. And you can manage your preferred providers. So, sometimes, they want to go offline for a little bit. Maybe they don't want to accept any deals. And so you can kind of like add notes, you can report bugs, and you can suspend providers for a little bit so that they can come back later or work on stuff. And so this is really useful because you don't want providers to always be on the hook for deals. They're not able to sometimes store your data. Like every provider only has limited storage capacity. So it's kind of useful to have these tools. And you can manage your Filecoin address here. So here's an example of how much data cap we have for verified deals. Here is your Filecoin balance. And it's not going to be used right away. So what you can do is you can move into escrow. And when you move into escrow, it'll be used for deals. So in this example, we have Filecoin that we move into escrow to make deals on user behalf. And we also make verified deals. So those deals are not free, but they're proven real data that will increase miner power. So the miners are willing to take it. And we basically can help them get, verified deals that are good for the entire network and deals that people want to retrieve at a later point. Shuttles are really cool. So if you have, let's say, like 20, 30 terabytes of data that are located maybe in Europe and you don't want to send that all the way to Asia, we can set up a shuttle for you near where you are, like in Europe, and then take that data directly. So this is something that's been worked on for a couple of weeks, and it's really helped us onboard a lot of storage data. And we're just super excited that it worked out really well. And it just became another great way to kind of push data to the Filecoin network. And user debugging. So something that as a network operator, you may want to do is you may want to help your users debug their problems. So I have a way to impersonate, and every user has this ability, network operator has this ability to go in and basically take an API key and see what's going on. So an example of this is I had a user that had 1 million plus files. Some of the UI was breaking. I'm able to go into their account and fix that issue with the rendering of it, and then revoke the key later and never have access to the account again. So we're a key-based system that allows for that. So I think it's good that you can debug stuff for your users, and this is kind of a thing that will happen often as you grow your product. And you can invite anyone you want. So you can either make your own Estuary node available to everyone, or you can create an invite system using our invite system and just send out custom invites to people. So on the screen right here, you can see a whole bunch of claimed invites, and yeah, essentially it. And then we make our hardware and system analytics public. So one thing that's really cool about this Estuary node is that we exposed the hardware that's running on and all the data that has come through and all of our analytics. So, when you're storing data for other people, you probably want to expose that information to your clients. And so we wanted to build that in first class. So here it is. And yeah, that's basically the rundown of Estuary. And I think I might have, thinking back on this talk, I might have made it a little bit more complicated going over all the topics than I needed to. But I'm actually going to run through the product right now in real life as it is today and kind of show you what it'd be like to upload files. So I am in my Estuary account right now. And if you go to the website today, you can view your files. You have comparisons to the cloud. You have Web3 comparisons. You have like some video that shows you how it works. It probably doesn't get you right away how easy it is to upload files, but I'm going to run through account creation. So go here. I'm going to make an invite. And I'm going to say Encode demo invite and just create an invite for myself and take this. And I'm going to open a new incognito window. And I'm going to sign up and create an account. So creating an account is pretty simple. All you have to do is do encode test. That's my username. I'm going to sign up for an account. Cool. So when you enter Estuary, here you are, and upload your first file. So I'm going to add a file. And I have all these nature videos. So I have, some, I think like 84 megabytes the average. There's some really smaller ones, 20, 16.3, 14.7. And I'm going to just select all of this. I'm going to hit open. And all these files are now queued up. And I'm just going to click upload all. And you can see that we have parallel uploading. So there's, I think, 5 happening at the same time. And the moment that these finish, it's as easy as that. I think it took 2 minutes. I got an Estuary invite. I went and created an account. And then I upload some files. So now I have 5 files, 6 files are going to go and become Filecoin storage deals and be stored on the Filecoin network within like maybe 4 or 5 hours. But they're already on this Estuary node. So they're already pinned and people can retrieve them. So you see these dweb links, and then you can see they're added to staging, which is what I showed you guys earlier. So maybe I should have started with this because I think it's pretty clear here that this is a really fast way to get data over to Filecoin, but I think the context is good so you can see the whole project, what it offers. But fundamentally, this is what we provide. And yeah, all that data that I added is on the Filecoin network. So all this stuff will appear in staging, and I'll leave. Let me double check that everything's done. Okay, so still processing and staging, but all the files I uploaded are right here. And so what you get is you have the name, and then you have total size, 23 files that were pinned, and then the dweb links, so you can retrieve them and view them. And so that is fundamentally, after all of what I said, is what Estuary does. Just gets their files here, and then very soon, those files will all be made into deals. So you can see that each of these are being added right now as Filecoin deals, and then they will be verifiable. So what I mean by verifiable is you can click here to this verify link, and you can enter the CID, and you can check that's on the Filecoin network. Anyone can view this. So if any of your clients need proof that it's actually happening, you can use this. And so that whole experience is simple from the GUI. But if you don't want to use the website and you just want to use something like the command line, or you want to go and do it from the docs, you can do the whole experience I just showed you from the API. So I have a tutorial here where I have a get API key, and you can see basically the same thing I just did. I went to the Estuary account that I had. I went to API keys. I have my current session and create a new key right here and copy and paste this. And I can just go here into the docs and replace this. And that's my encode test user. So I can use it all from the docs itself. I just want to experiment. And then when I go here to uploading your first file, I can just go here and click on choose file. click on this nature video one, hit open, and I'm doing the exact same thing from the code. So I think this is really important to highlight, because for people that just want to focus on development and code that they're familiar with, they can just go into our docs and play with it. They don't actually have to go through the account process. And if you have an Estuary account and you want a friend to come hack with you on it, you can just share this API key with them or whatever, and they can do the exact same thing. So I just uploaded a file right there. And if I go into my Estuary GUI, it should be, well, I'll eat my words. It didn't appear right away, but it will appear here. So, you can see that happening, really quickly. And then to list data, because you want to see your data, if I just go here, add my API key, I can see all of my data, right? So for apps that kind of just want to upload data and show data, this is, I think, a really simple way to get it done. And then, in the back of your mind, after everything I shared, that stuff's on Filecoin, and it's that simple. And so I think, I could have done it better, but we kind of covered the complexity up front of everything related to Filecoin. I probably shared a ton of ideas that were needed more explanation. But fundamentally here, when you play with the GUI, you can kind of just see, oh, I'm just uploading data to Filecoin. It's that simple. And yeah. And so what file types are supported? Basically, well, I guess I don't know what file types aren't supported. So I'll leave it to people to play with and test, but we support pushing anything that you could push to IPFS. So it's Unix FS based. So, have fun, try things out. One other thing I want to highlight is that we support the IPFS pinning API. So, if you want to stay the pinning standards that from the IPFS ecosystem. So this is these docs are awesome, whoever put them together. But you have this, if you're coming from an additional IPFS pinning service before, you can basically just plug and play ours and just change the host, because we follow the exact same conventions. And if you see anything here that if there's something that you want in our docs that you don't see, here's an example of how you can give us that feedback. So you can click here, go to give feedback, be like Encode, Jim, I'd like more docs. None of this makes sense. And don't abuse this. This goes directly to me. I read everything. But that's a simple feedback form for, if you want to help us expand our docs. And we also have explanations of what is Estuary, and, kind of goes in details about Filecoin and the whole libpdp stack and other aspects of the stack. So you should definitely check this out. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a little bit. And I'm going to answer questions around, so what's coming next on Estuary? Our goal is to get to a petabyte a week of data onboard to Filecoin. So we built all of the stuff that we built, and I guess let me share my screen again. We built Estuary, which is the Estuary node. We built Estuary www, which is the website, and you can run that yourself. And we have Estuary docs, right? And so we kind of lay out the pieces for everyone where the source code's available. You can play with it, you can use it. And then our goal is, with this set of 3 tools, the Estuary node, the website, and the docs, how do we get it so the single Estuary node can handle a petabyte of data a week? And that's a pretty ambitious thing to do. But if we get there, then we know that what we're providing to everyone will be really useful for whatever they build. And so that's what's coming next. And we're still kind of working on it. I think right now we're good at terabytes of data, but petabytes is a unique challenge of its own, especially with ingress costs and data transfer. Maybe sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's better just to use offline storage for petabyte scale data. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Oh, Jimmy, thank you very much. Sorry, there was a helicopter in the background of my. I live near a hospital, and there's a helicopter that keeps interrupting all my. So yeah, sorry if anyone can hear a helicopter. Right, thank you everyone for joining us. As Jimmy correctly noted, the helicopter is getting louder. As correctly noted, there is an NFT hackathon, which I think we're going to be announcing later this week. And I'm going to close my window before it really does land in my office. We'll probably be announcing later this week or early next week, but it's going to be an NFT Filecoin hackathon. It's going to be very exciting. Perfect time to do anything NFT related. In the meantime, the YouTube and the Medium, which I will get the slides of Jimmy, will be sent around tomorrow and go in all the usual public places. If you are new to Encode, do come check out our lovely Discord, where you can keep in touch with everything. Oh my God, that is so close to my house. Where you can keep in touch with everything that goes on at Encode. In the meantime, Jimmy, thank you very much. Fantastic presentation. I know we all appreciate it. And yeah, see you soon.
See ya.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.